Hello again. So last lecture we started with Kathleen and she was talking about Bartley that he has forgotten his share of the bread. So Maria, when they talk about that, and if you have noticed the way that Nora and especially Kathleen talk about the mother, how she disturbs everyone in the house by talking. So as they talk about this, Maria sways herself on this too. That's to say, she doesn't like what she hears from the daughters, saying that she has driven everyone insane in the house. So, and then Kathleen says, cutting off some of the bread and rolling it in a cloth to Maria. Let you go down now to the spring well and give him this, and he passing. You will see him then. The dark wood will be broken, and you can say, God speed you. The way he will be easy in his mind. So Kathleen packs some of the bread and asks the mother to go and catch up with Bartley in order to break the dark ward, saying that the sun will be dead by nightfall, and at the same time she can give him her blessing. And the mother says, will I be in it as soon as himself? The mother is old and she cannot walk very well, so she wonders if she can catch Bartley. Kathleen, if you go now quickly. Yeah, she says, if you go now and if you don't delay, you may catch up with Bartley before he goes away. So Moria standing up unsteadily. It is hard set and to walk. She says, I cannot even walk easily. So she's an old woman, as I said. And not just that, if you have noticed, she stands up unsteadily. She didn't like the idea of saying these words that she said to Bartley, saying that Bartley will be dead by nightfall. But she said that just to stop Bartley. But now she is doing all she can do just to save the son. She thinks that giving the son a piece of bread and saying Godspeed you may save the son anyhow. So she's ready and willing to do anything just to save Bartley from the sea. All right. Kathleen, looking at her anxiously, give her the stick, Nora, or maybe she will slip on the big stones. Nora, what stick? The stick Michael brought from Connemara. So, as we said from the very beginning of this play, all the items, all the things that they are using on this island are from the outside world. That is to say, they do not produce anything on the island. So it seems that this stick was actually bought by Michael and now it's left for the mother. So Moria, taking a stick Nora gives her, in the big world, the old people do be living things after them for their sons and children. But in this place, it is the young men do be living things behind for them that do be old. I know that the grammar is strange, but the thing is, Moria says, in the world outside the island, the old people die and leave things for their children. But in this place, it seems that things are opposite. The young people die and they leave things for the old ones. As I said from the beginning, Michael bought the stick and now the stick is left after Michael's death for the mother. All right, so this tells us that there is something unnatural about this island. The things are not in order. In the outside world, people grow up, they grow old, and then they die. But in this place, the old people remain alive while the younger ones die and drown on the sea. Okay. She goes out slowly. Nora goes over to the larder. So all these things, talking about the bread, saying, Godspeed you to the sun, all of these things were used, exploited by the two girls. They just wanted the mother to go outside the house. They used their chance, or the chance, to push the mother out. For what reason? Well, in order to check the bundle of clothes that the priest brought them earlier. So the two of them immediately start checking the clothes because they don't want to let the mother know about it unless they belong to Michael. So Kathleen, wait, Nora, maybe she will turn back quickly. She is that sorry. God help her. And you wouldn't know what the thing she would do. Kathleen says she is so sorrowful or distressed that she may come back quickly. So they decide to wait a little bit until they make sure that the mother is out of sight, and then they start checking the clothes. Nora, is she gone round by the bush? Kathleen looking out, she's gone now. Throw it down quickly, for the Lord knows when she will be out of it again. So once the mother is outside the house, they throw down the bundle and start checking the clothes. And Kathleen says, nobody knows, only God knows. When will she go outside again? So this would be like the best chance that they got. Nora, getting the bundle from the loft, the young priest said he would be passing tomorrow, and we might go down and speak to him below. If it is Michael's, they are surely. So the young priest gave them the clothes, and he told them that he will be back in 2 days. So once they check the clothes, they can go down, go outside and tell the priest that they belong to Michael or not. Kathleen taking the bundle, did he say what way they were found? Nora, coming down, there were two men, says he. They were rowing round the poteen before the cocks crowed. So these two men, they were on a boat in an early morning, and they had poteen with themselves. Poteen is actually some type of illegal drinks that they were distributing at that time. Before the cocks crowed, it means before the early morning. Usually roosters start crowing around 4 or 5 sometimes. So it means that they were the very early morning. And the oar of one of them caught the body. And the oar is like a stick with a flat end. They used it for rowing. So one of them caught the body with the oar, and they passed in the black cliffs of the north while they were sailing next to or close by the black cliffs in the northern part of the country. Kathleen, trying to open the bundle, give me a knife, Nora. The strings perished with the salt water, and there is a black knot on it you didn't loosen in a week. So it seems that they cannot simply untie the, let's say, the knot. Knot is when you tie clothes or ropes together, they will make a knot. So this knot cannot be untied because of the salt water. Usually the salt makes clothes, let's say, rough or hard, if I may say. And so you cannot untie or let's say, unfix the knots of the clothes. So they decide to cut it open. And there is one more thing. It's a black knot, not just a normal knot. This is like foreshadowing. It tells us that something tragic will happen in the future. Nora, giving her a knife, I have heard tell it was a long way to Dongle. So again, they have heard from some people that it's a very long way from the island to Dongal, this place. Kathleen, carrying the string, it is surely. There was a man in here a while ago. The man sold us that knife, and he said, if you set off walking from the rocks beyond, it would be 7 days. You would be in Dongal. So again, they cannot even make a knife on the island. They bought it from a man. And the man told them that it would be like 7 days of walking until they reach Dongal. Nora, and what time would the man take any floating? So he says, if it is 7 days of walking, then how many days would it be for a man who is floating on the sea? This can be explained in two ways. One of them is when somebody's in a boat traveling across the sea or the ocean. The second one is when somebody is literally on the sea surface. Usually dead bodies start to float after 1 or 2 days. So the daughter may wonder how many days it took Michael's body to reach the northern part of the country. Kathleen opens the bundle, takes out a bit of a stocking. They look at them eagerly. Kathleen in a low voice, the Lord spares Nora. Isn't it a queer hard thing to say? If it is his they are surely, because of the salt and the way that these clothes were, let's say, they are somehow salty, and usually the salt destroys the cloth. It makes it hard or rough, as I said, and sometimes it makes the color tainted. It removes the color of the cloth. So she says it might be difficult to tell if they belong to Michael or not. Nora, I will get his share of the hook, the way we can put the one flannel upon the other. So the two of them decide to compare the flannel of the clothes, the shirt that Michael left in the house, and the flannel of the piece of cloth that they have found in the bundle. But interestingly, they discover that the shirt, she looks through, let's say she looks through some clothes hanging in the corner. It is not with them, Kathleen. Where will it be? So the shirt is missing. The shirt that's left by Michael is missing. So guess who is wearing the shirt now? It is actually Bartley. Bartley, if you remember, when she came back home before she travels, sorry, when he came back home before he travels, he decided to change his clothes. So instead of his own shirt, he took Michael's shirt. So this is also another foreshadowing that he will also be dead, because I don't know, it's not a good idea to wear a dead man's clothes or shirt. So this is why it is missing. So Bartley is wearing Michael's clothes, or let's say shirt. All right. So Nora cannot find it because Bartley already took it. Kathleen, I'm thinking Bartley put it on him in the morning, for his own shirt was heavy with the salt in it. Pointing to the corner, there is a bit of a sleeve of the same stuff. Give it to me, or and give me that, and it will do. So she says, but there is still a piece of cloth that is left, so we can compare the flannel. Flannel is the woolen, let's say, it's the it's the wool that's used for making shirt, I don't know, t-shirts, etc. Okay, so it's like the stuff, or let's say the wool that is used for making the shirt. So they put the two pieces together and they compare them. If they are the same, it means that The person who is found and buried in the northern part of the country is actually Michael. Nora brings it to her. They compare the flannel. Kathleen, it is the same stuff, Nora. But if it is itself, aren't there great rolls of it in the shops of Galway? Isn't it many another man may have a shirt of it as well as Michael himself? Kathleen says, but don't you think that maybe this is just from another man who bought the same stuff, the same flannel? Nora says, who has taken up the stocking and counted the stitches, crying out. So she counts the stitches, and the stitch is like a line. When you put two pieces of clothes together, and when you do the needlework, it will have a stitch. It is like a line of, let's say, threads that puts the two pieces together or holds the two pieces together. So she counts the stitches and she realizes that it is actually Michael's clothes. It is Michael, Kathleen, it is Michael. God spare his soul. And what will herself say when she hears his story and Bartley on the sea? So the moment she realizes that the clothes belong to Michael, she thinks of the mother. She says, how will she react while the last remaining son is on the sea? So how is she going to accept the fact that Michael is dead and Bartley is on the sea as well? So that must be difficult for the mother. Kathleen, okay, where is it? Kathleen taking the stocking. It's a plain stocking. It is the second one of the third pair I knitted, and I put 3 scores stitches and drop in 4 of them. So this is about the way that she knitted these stockings. She made the stocking herself. That's why she recognized it. And she says, I usually put up 3 score stitches and I dropped 4 of them. This is the needlework when you make the stitches. And it seems that she has her own style of needling. So this is the point. Nora recognizes the stocking because she has made it herself, and they now think only about one thing, which is telling the mother about Michael's death. But they don't want to tell her because Bartley is on the sea. So she would be terrified if she discovers that Michael is surely dead now and Bartley is on the sea and might die at any second. So Kathleen counts the stitches. It is that number, isn't it? Crying out, Nora. Isn't it a bitter thing to think of him floating that way to the far north? And no one took in on him but the black hags that do be flying on the sea. Hag here is like a witch, usually an old woman who is involved in magic or sorcery. So Kathleen talks about the way that Michael died on the sea. And it is not natural because usually when somebody dies, the body of this person is surrounded by the family members, the friends, etc. But in this case, or in the case of Michael, he died, but his body was all alone on the sea, and there was nobody to cry or to lament his death except the black witches or the black hags that do be flying on the sea, except the witches who are flying across the seas. And by the way, guys, these are the Irish people, and the Irish people believe in so many mythical, let's say, stories. That's why they talk about having black hags who are flying across the sea. All right. Nora swinging herself round, throwing out her arms on the clothes. Isn't it a pitiful thing when there is nothing left of a man who was a great rower and fisher, but a bit of an old shirt and a plain stocking? And Nora says, don't you think that it's also pitiful that nothing is left of a man who was once a great rower and a great fisher? Look at these two things that she talks about and remembers. Usually, when someone dies, the family, the relatives, the friends usually talk about his good deeds, saying that he was a good man, he had a kind heart, etc. But Nora only remembers two things about him. The first one being a great rower, and the second being a great fisher. And we all know that she got benefit from these two, let's say, characteristics that he had. So this tells us how, let's say, selfish people were in the modern age. She is not sad that she lost a brother. She is just sad because she lost a great fisher and a great rower, because she used to get benefit from these two qualities. The first one being a great rower, probably they got benefit from him rowing boats on the sea. And second, being a great fisher was also beneficial for the whole family because he used to bring fish to the family. So she only cares about things that were useful for her and for the other members of the family. So this is why we said in the modern age, people no longer care about each other. Instead of having families and communities, we have individuals. Each one cares about him or herself. And this is an example of that. Let's say the daughter, Nora, lost a brother, but she is only sad because he was a great rower and a great fisher. Okay, Kathleen, after an instant, tell me, is herself coming, Nora? I hear a little sound on the path. Nora looking out. She is, Kathleen. She is coming up to the door. So the mother is back, but she doesn't seem to be very energetic. She comes back very slowly with slow steps. And they are worried that when she comes back in, she may realize that something happened, or let's say she may realize that they were checking some clothes. So they decide to quickly put these things away before she will come in. Maybe it is easier she will be after giving her blessings to Bartley, and we won't let on we've heard anything the time he is on the sea. So the two of them decide not to tell their mother anything about Bartley as long as Bartley is on this, anything about Michael as long as Bartley is on the sea. Why do they hide this from the mother? Because they know that she is an old woman and she will kill herself, crying and lamenting first for Michael, who is dead, and second for Bartley, who will be dead soon. So they decide to tell her once Bartley comes back home, because it will feel better for the mother. At least the last son would be home with her. So Nora helping Kathleen to close the mantle. We will put them here in the corner. They put them in a hole in the chimney corner. Kathleen goes back to the spinning wheel. Nora, will she see it was crying I was? And by the way, guys, don't try to imitate these grammatical structures because, as I told you, these are uneducated Irish people. They are not from the cities. They are just from a very remote, distant island. Probably they didn't get proper education. That's why they speak like that. So Nora wonders if the mother would see that she was crying or not. Kathleen, keep your back to the door. The way the light will not be on you. So Kathleen advises her to put her back on the door so the mother will not see that she was crying. Okay. Nora sits down at the chimney corner with her back to the door. Moria comes in very slowly without looking at the girls and goes over to her stool at the other side of the fire. The clothes with the bread is still in her hand. The girls look at each other and Nora points to the bundle of bread. So it seems that the mother didn't give the bundle of bread to the son, Bartley, but she comes back in very quietly. And usually people are not quiet unless something terrible happens. So Kathleen offers spinning wheel for a moment. She continues spinning the wheel. You didn't give him his bit of bread. Moria begins to kin softly without turning round. So when the daughter asks whether she has given, not whether actually, it is obvious that she hasn't given the piece of bread to Bartley, but the mother immediately starts crying softly. Kathleen, did you see him riding down? She continues crying. Kathleen, a little impatiently, God forgive you. Isn't it a better thing to raise your voice and tell what you've seen than to be making lamentation for a thing that is done? Did you see Bartley? I'm saying to you, or I'm telling you. So Kathleen thinks that Maria is still lamenting and crying over the death of Michael. And she says, what? Lamentation for a thing that is done. Why that is done? Because she is now sure that Michael is dead. So she asks his father, did you see Bartley? I'm saying to you, Maria, with a weak voice, my heart's broken from this day. As before, did you see Bartley? I seen the fearfulest thing. Leaves her will and looks up. God forgive you. He is riding the mare now over the green hedge and the grey pony behind him. When she mentions the name Grey Pony, the mother starts. Start, it means to startle, as if you are frightened by something. So her shawl falls back from her head and shows her white tossed hair. With a frightened voice, the grey pony behind him. So usually, the old people try to cover their hair, especially the old ladies. But once they uncover their hair, it means that something terrible happened. So she no longer cares about her white hair. Why? Because she has seen the fearfulest thing, as she said. And what is that thing? It is the ghost of Michael that was riding right behind Bartley. So Kathleen, coming to the fire, what is it ails you at all? What is the thing that disturbs you? Moria, speaking very slowly, I have seen the fearfulest thing any person has seen, since the day bright Dara seen the dead man with the child in his arms. So the mother says, what I have seen is the most or the fearfulest thing that anyone has ever seen since the day Saint Bridget. Saint Dara or Saint Bridget was, let's say, a saint in living. I'm not so sure about it. Some people say in the 4th or 6th century. And they say that one night she had encountered a man with a dead man, with a dead, let's say, a dead kid or child in his arms. And this is mentioned, or this is like a part of the Irish mythology. So Saint Bridget saw a man with a dead child in his arms. So she says, "What I have seen is the second worst thing that anyone can ever see. The first was what happened to Saint Bridget. The second is what happened to her." So, Bright Dara, as I said, this is the name of Saint Bridget. Just another name, if I may say. Okay? And by the way, this is usually called allusion in literature. When you make reference to something, sometimes to Christ or to a saint, to Bible, these are called, let's say, biblical allusions. Or sometimes, as in this case, it's also a part of the Irish mythology. You may say, let's say, simply classical allusion would be best, I think, because it's also a part of the mythology. But since he was a saint, it's okay to call it a religious or a biblical allusion. Anyway, they crouched down in front of the old woman at the fire. So when she says that the two daughters crouched down, they lower themselves in front of the old woman and they listen. "Tell us, what is it you've seen? Tell us, what did you see?" All right, I think this would be enough for today. We will continue tomorrow from the same spot. Enjoy your day and see you tomorrow.